almost 11. It's 11 on the dot. Okay? Let me turn this off. It's time. Good to see you. Going well. All right, so many of you have been to my heart workshop that I did a couple of months ago. Babies are okay. We're used to babies crying or whatever, all right? So that's no problem with me. It's not going to be as long as that one. That one was about 2 hours because we had a lot of important information to get through. This one is equally as important, but it's going to be about an hour, maybe a little bit less, all right? So I don't take breaks, but if you need a break, restroom's right here, just get up and go, okay? If anything else comes up, that's fine. If you have phone calls, just step outside with it, please. And if you could put your ringer on vibrate right now, if you don't mind for me, because it's just courteous for everyone, all right? Babies I could completely tune out. Cell phones are not easy to do. All right, let me turn down the radio here. Okay, everybody got their cell phone done? All right, good. I like it. So this morning, this is funny, I was looking everywhere for my little changer for my PowerPoint here, and I thought there's got to be an app for that, and there was. So I didn't need it, so I've got my little app right here. So, well, welcome. What we're going to talk about today is really life-changing information. And it's, careful, Devin, she's coming in. And this isn't a secret. I don't want to keep it to yourselves. I want you to share it with other people. And a lot of it is just maybe the reason why you're here. There might be some other reasons. And if you have questions at the end, we're going to open up for questions. Okay? So, where does health come from? Does anybody know? Within. So, there are so many things out there that are trying to create health in you, and those are fine and good, To take a pill from the outside doesn't make us healthy. If anything, it inhibits one function, so maybe another function can express itself. Or it, decreases a metabolic activity or what have you, or increases a metabolic activity. So if someone has high blood pressure and you take a high blood pressure pill, you might not have high blood pressure for the moment that's indicated on some type of machinery, but do you still actually have high blood pressure? Yes, right? You just took something to lower it. You didn't get to the cause of the problem, right? To inhibit that is change your blood pressure. So we're going to talk about some different things, different actions, different activities, okay? Does that sound good to everyone? Good. So today we're going to go through some quality information so you can make quality decisions for yourselves. Because a lot of people say, I just don't know what to do. My doctor so-and-so said to do this. Should I do that? I can't tell you what to do. And in reality, I'd much rather have you informed and educated to make great decisions for yourself. Wouldn't you agree? Right. So, this can change your life, it could change your family's life, and in reality, every person you meet for the rest of your life, you can help change their life, or maybe even save their life. My mother's had high blood pressure. She had high blood pressure most of her life. She had heart disease. She's had 2 triple bypasses. They wanted to do a 3rd one, and the reason I moved back down here from New York was partly to clean up after the hurricanes in 04 or 05 or whenever they were. They're a whole bunch back then, to help her clean up. But she didn't tell me that she couldn't walk up the 3 steps into her house to stop and breathe at each step. Right? That's like climbing Mount Everest. That's what they do. They stop, breathe into the oxygen, right? They pay tens of thousands of dollars to do that. And, someone with heart disease is really going through the same thing. That's called angina pains. Right? She's not getting oxygen to her heart muscles, which is not getting blood to her whole body. So what's happening is actually the body's beginning to die. Why did all that happen? A, her central nervous system wasn't communicating to the parts of her body that heal itself. Because I came back here and her blood pressure 225 over 110, cholesterol nearly 400, and all the arteries around her heart were inhibited. We call it plaquing, and we blame cholesterol for it. Cholesterol is a very important thing. Your brain is mostly cholesterol. I don't mess with the function of my brain by decreasing the amount of cholesterol. To me, that's insanity. But what I want to do is have my body's ability to handle those things and be in balance, right? So her carotid arteries were 99 and 79% blocked blood to her brain. So, and all the arteries around the heart. Her indicators of health, like blood pressure, were completely unbalanced and fluctuating, which means she was ready to have some sort of catastrophic activity, right? So I started adjusting her twice a day. And her blood pressure changed nearly immediately, okay? Now, at 88 years old, her blood pressure, drug-free, is 125/75. I mean, it doesn't really change at all, because that's what it's meant to be. Her cholesterol level is about 165. Last time it was 185. It's meant to fluctuate, and actually fluctuates with your stress level, okay? If you're stressed out in the doctor's office about your cholesterol is actually going to go up because you're stressed out about it, okay? So now her body normalizes that system. Her carotid arteries, come on in. Good morning. Her carotid arteries now are about 25 to 30%. Okay, which at 88 years old, she has the carotid arteries of a 25-year-old person. Average 25-year-old person is about 25% here, 25 to 35%. The arteries around her heart are clear. So she's actually beaten heart disease. We didn't change anything in her eating program, because I don't like the word diet. No one sticks to a diet, but her eating lifestyle didn't change. Her exercise didn't change. Right? She likes to go and dance. She does a lot of activities with her friends and enjoys her life. She's a very active person. Teaches art at some of the places around town and does some wonderful things. And enjoys herself. Didn't change any of that. Actually, she's able to do more because those other things inhibited her. Hi, come on in.
Hey.
So, what happened? I'm going to tell you. All right? We're going to get to that in a moment. But sharing this information will really help other people. All right? So, I like this. I'm using my friend's, he made some wonderful slides, and you know, I've used a lot. I have thousands of my own. We do these workshops for years, and pre-baby, we were doing them monthly, all right? We're getting back into doing them. The last one we did was on our heart health workshop, which I thought was great, and you know, we're getting back to doing more of these, and he gave me this one. I thought, hey, that is absolutely perfect. The vertebral column, what is that like? Like a breaker box in your house, right? I tried to play electrician at my house the other day, and took the vent hood over the range burned out. We had a electrical thing happen from FPL, and so I'm taking this thing down myself, and all of a sudden sparks start flying and everything else. I'm not an electrician for the house, but the electrician for your body. How that central nerve system communicates from one place to the next. And I had a woman yesterday ask me, and this is wonderful, she's been to a lot of my classes, and she asked me, can it come from the organ itself cause the subluxation? Or does it have to come from the vertebra only out of place going to the organ and inhibit life to the organ? It's both sides of the spectrum. If there's something going on with the body itself, we'll see it in the vertebral system. Because the brain is constantly trying to heal you and keep you in homeostasis. If you don't know what that is, it means in balance. Chemically, emotionally, your immune system, everything. You know, we are the most drugged society on the planet. Not by a little, but exponentially. We take more psychotropic drugs for depression and bipolar and whatever it is, that we're really concerned about the quality of water because we're peeing all that stuff out into our water supply. I do not want Prozac in my life, okay? Nor do I want it in the food that I eat that's going into the food, you know, to supply the food water, whether it's animal or vegetable. So ultimately, we're looking at a society that's we're mentally imbalanced, we're physically imbalanced, we're, you know, our disease processes are more than ever. Why? Partly is we have a big sales system in selling us drugs and sickness. And I'm not picking on the doctors, but just a little. Might be some in here, and please forgive me. But my whole family are all medical doctors. My father was a doctor in New York City. My cousins, male and female, everyone. And except my mom, but she's the healthiest one of all because she sees the fewest doctors, you have to see. But ultimately, I decided not to follow that route because I didn't feel people were getting well. I didn't see anybody get well from them. They're just stay and maintain a level of sickness through your entire life. And chiropractors helped me. I got into chiropractic the very first time I was in college. I went to the University of San Diego, and I got in a bad accident. And I was hurt. And if anybody's been into an auto accident, you know, if you're really hurt, it is a major thing. You feel it in your spine, you feel it in your central nervous system. I was getting migraines. I was in college, and what happened is my grades started to go down, and not slowly, quickly. Because I had what you would label as ADHD or whatever, or ADHD or whatever, they have new acronyms for everything all the time. My brain wasn't holding in the information. I'd read a page and it would be gone. Now you drug a kid for that. I had reflux like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I had to sleep at 20 years old, 19, 20 years old. I was sleeping in a recliner. A glass of water, I would feel fire coming up my throat. I had ulcers in my entire stomach. What do we do? Well, I went and got an upper GI done, which I didn't realize was an entire lifetime's dose of X-ray radiation. I don't do X-rays in here as much. Occasionally we do. If we need one, we send you out for one. But I choose not to do as many X-rays as I possibly keep them to the absolute minimal, because I had the most I could, my lifetime's dose there. And what did they say when I had all this done, rolling around an open X-ray, is, here's a purple pill for you. You're going to take this for the rest of your life. I said, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That is absolutely the most ridiculous thing. You made me go through all this. You had your sales technique already. You were going to tell me to take that pill anyway, weren't you? She said, yeah. So you gave me an entire lifetime's dose of X-ray. Is there a level of logic in that? I was mad. Told my father. He's mad too. He said, yes. It's unfortunate. So Larry the Cable Guy sells these type of drugs on TV. He does donuts in his four-wheeler or whatever and sells you these drugs to lower the acid in your stomach. But what that actually does is affects your brain. It's a powerful drug. Are you guys having fun back there? He's a boy. He likes to throw stuff. Boys and girls are different animals. They really are. So what did I do? I asked my friend, I said, you know, his father was a lawyer, and I said, listen, send me one of your chiropractor buddies. Because I was thinking personal injury, I didn't know what else to do. They sent me to a chiropractor. Well, all this guy did was really handle personal injury stuff. They put, people say you have some voodoo or magic dust you sprinkle on people or something, they think chiropractic is that. I said, no, I don't do that. But if it works, maybe I would, I don't know. No, but what they had, these ultrasound and heat packs and what I called magic wands, it didn't do anything. They actually burned my back with this stuff. They put the electric stim, you know, put that on my back. And thank goodness they burned me with the ultrasound. And I jumped off the table and I said, this can't be what everyone loves their chiropractor. I don't love this. How can everybody love that? And what it really was something completely different. That had nothing to do with chiropractic. And I walked down the street. Dr. David lives. Hey guys, now you're being a little loud. On Garnett Street in Pacific Beach. He told me the story of chiropractic. Why do I have blocks here today? I don't know. And he saved my life. He adjusted my atlas, the upper part of my spinal cord right here at the brainstem, and everything started to change in my body. He adjusted other parts of me as well, but my reflux went away, my hiatal hernia went away, my ulcers went away, and I started getting better grades again. My grades went right back up. Things were sticking in my brain again. That was amazing. And I realized, man, this has really changed my life. I didn't decide I was going to be a chiropractor yet then. I went on to law school, and I realized, I don't want to be a lawyer. These guys are really like, you know, Maybe there's some lawyers in here, please forgive me, but I was a different type of person. My whole family have been doctors for generations, and I'm really put on this earth to serve people. I'm on this earth to help people get well, live well, stay well, be well, and grow up well their entire life. So I'm going to talk about these things and tell you exactly what I have found that has transformed people's lives. Not one, not two, but tens of thousands, and not just in my office, in thousands of chiropractors' offices. Okay? Selling a good deal? Yeah. Good. Now, this is a very important thing, because what's going on right now is my child throwing things, but B is this, and I find myself doing it. I am not immune. I sit and wait for something, and I'm playing on my phone, looking for somebody to send me something interesting. It's very rare to find, right? Occasionally I'll get an email from a friend, but I find myself doing it too. I'm trying to bring my head up, this forward head posture. For once, media and chiropractic have meshed in our information at the same time. Chiropractors have been talking about a lot of different things for a long time, and this forward head posture stuff now in the media it's hit mainstream about texting that. But think about this, it ain't new. You lay in bed and watch TV, right? You're watching like this, blah, 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 and I see my kids, they'll slide down. Yes, they watch a little TV, but they'll slide down and they're sitting like this, and I said, okay, sit up straight. And they know to sit up straight. I find myself doing it. Also reading a book. It's the same thing, right? So there are many different processes that we have to think about. Where's our posture? With our spinal cord, with our head held down like this, just like Devin's, the spinal cord at the upper thoracic spine is actually pulled very, very tightly, and it's actually pressing against the front wall of the vertebral column. Now that upper thoracic area, where do you think those nerves go? Does anybody have an idea? What's right in front of that part of the spine? The heart and the lungs. It's called the circulatory ganglia. Also, every bit of information has to get from one place to the next. If it's inhibited here, very likely the atlas as well. Then at the thoracic spine, you've got a double whammy. And then people say, oh, my low back hurts. I don't feel anything up here, but very rarely, and I have to say very rarely, does low back stuff happen from the low back. It's usually either upper thoracic, upper neck, that cause the low back to be under stress. Because what happens, that spinal cord is stretched so tight for a long period of time, it attaches down here too. Pulls up the low back. Sends our whole system out of balance. Now in the low back, what are we looking at? Reproduction. Very important organs we want to keep healthy our whole life. Prostate, colon, bladder, right? All that stuff down here in the low back too. So a subluxation or bone out of place way up here can affect the low back tremendously. So we're looking at how life communicates in the entire body. This forward head posture, it's getting some credibility in the media, which I like. But they don't give a resolution to it and say, go see your chiropractor. Right? They say, okay, this is a big problem. What do? Take your cell phones away from the kids. Bianca has the answer. What's the answer? A pretty hat. Oh, adjustment. Good girl. She's trained well. That's my girl. So, what do? It's not going to end. Let me tell you, smartphones are a smart thing. I mean, they really have transformed our planet. People are going to continue to use them. Hold them up a little bit. Kids in school, what I tell them, and I didn't figure this out until I was in chiropractic school, okay, at my second graduate program, is getting a book stand. With an iPad too, it's a very important thing. Just put it on your desk there. Or put a book into a book stand. $1.95 at Walmart can really help make a big change. I've spent my whole life studying like this. And I feel it. My biggest subluxation, Devin will tell you, is my upper thoracic spine. My shoulder gets numb, it burns, and you know what? It makes me cranky. My wife will tell you that. When I'm subluxated, I am not myself. I know it. I am truly not myself. I get grouchy, irritable, because my system is unbalanced. My body is saying, this is not right. You need to make some changes. right? So if you know any cranky people out there, you tell them to get adjusted and send them in here, all right? Now, the beginning of the disease process begins with postural distortion. All these things are documented things, you know, all these quotes I'm giving you, I'll give you the documentation. But what we're looking at is if the spine is distorted, the central nerve system is inhibited, we don't function as well. Who tells you that? Oh, you've got something going on, whatever it might be, here, take a pill for it. You're constipated, your blood pressure's too high, it might be too low, you can't concentrate, your eye twitches, whatever it might be, a shaky leg, right? What happens? Oh, here's a pill for that. Well, what does that pill do? Does the pill go straight to your big toe and doesn't affect anywhere else? No. It affects your entire system. Your body's got to deal with it. It's more than likely very toxic for your body. Is the baby all right? She's okay. She's okay. She's exploring. She's having a good time. Rug's clean. Don't worry. And we're also, now I hate to say this, but overweight in our society. Most of that is bloat. Because we're taking in so much toxin, what does the body want to do immediately? Add water to dilute it. Okay? That is a very important thing to know. Because we have a lot of people tell me about their diets all the time, and I say, okay, that's good, but make sure you detoxify yourself first. Because if you start losing all that water very quickly, what happens, you become very toxic as well. Very often, and I have people tell me all the time, once they start getting adjusted, their nerve system clear, we see them. I mean, I had one man about 2 years ago. He lost about 65 pounds. Only thing he did was get adjusted. And his body detoxed a lot of the garbage that he'd been taking since he was a small boy. He had a lot of things he dealt with as a small child, inhalers and all these things. He was a sick child. So what do? Is they punished him with a lot of drugs. And his body, as he got older, was very bloated. So he lost a lot of that water weight, and his body detoxed naturally, which was amazing. So that was from the central nerve system itself. Now, this is a very important thing to realize. There's one way to come into this world. Malka was born at home, and Bianca, we had to go to the hospital. We were at home, and it was about 10 hours. She wasn't progressing, so we had an emergency, hospital visit for it. But I stayed in the room, and I said, you do not pull on this child's neck at all. Leave the baby alone. The baby will come in her own time. And she was sunny side up. She came out basically up, face up, okay? Which is very stressful on the upper cervical neck, the occiput, which is the base of the head, right? And they would carry this, we usually have torticollis. We see a lot of babies in here that have gone through torticollis stress, where they haven't seen change with PT. We adjust them, and the change happens very nicely. She never had that because I adjusted her. The moment she came out, her oxygen saturation was actually low, and her breathing was very thready until the moment I adjusted her, and it went to 100, 99, 100, and it was breathing, is what that's called, right? Heart rate went up to perfect, all those things. And I adjusted her about every hour after that until we got out of there as quickly as we could. They wanted to keep her in the NICU, and I tell you this is divine grace, that 3 out of the 4 NICU nurses come into this office. So they all know my story. I don't want anything in this child. They're both 100% vaccine free, but they're chemical free. So they knew what I want, and they were really wonderful and gracious and served my child well. And then the 4th one, I knew the girl from high school. We went to high school together. She was a good friend, and so it was an amazing journey. It was hard work, but if we had to go to the hospital, I couldn't imagine any better way. So, it starts at childbirth, and what they do most of the time is actually turn the baby at 180 degrees, turn the neck first, to try and pull the shoulder out. What is that in this tiny little neck? It's trauma, and we carry it our entire lifetime, unless we meet a chiropractor that is, skilled in doing those things, and helping people. I mean, we were all little babies once, and most of the time when we see in our scan, I can tell if someone's been a C-section or they used forceps or whatever it might be by the trauma I see in their neck. Very, very rarely is it only the car accident or, I don't know, this just happened today. It's usually a lifetime of something that's caused this problem, right? And then how many times we fall in our dirty diapers? Thousands of learning to walk. And then when we learn to walk, you know, my son bouncing off the walls. When I was a kid, falling out of trees, learning how to ride your bike, all that stuff. And we didn't go to chiropractors. I didn't get to a chiropractor until I was 19. So I think, I really thank God that I did have that accident, because it wasn't necessarily an accident. It wasn't on purpose. To get me to the place I am so I can serve you, so I can actually experience the change. There was another moment when I was at one of my mentors in upper cervical. That's a toggle. The one table we have, we have a few of those, but the table in the middle is for adjusting one bone. We did a full spine x-ray on myself, and he found a big spot. There was a big spot in my lung. And the first thing, he said, don't name it, don't own it. We're getting past that. Don't name it, don't own it. See a spot in your lung, all right, I'm not naming it, I'm not owning it, and I just finished x-ray radiology class, and I'm telling you, I've seen thousands of those slides. Don't name it, don't own it, it's not a part of me, right? We went back to his house that day, and a toggle table. The reason I use these tables, they were built in the 1940s. They were the Rolls-Royce of tables. They don't make them as great as they did back then, I have to say. He adjusted me on the same one. Adjusted my atlas. I went home. I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and this, whatever it was, don't name it, don't own it, went into my lymphatic system in my neck. And men, you ever get like an ingrown hair, you pick at that thing, you get that ingrown hair out, right? That's what I thought it was at first. Well, what it was this thing in my lung went into my lymphatic system. My body started healing that junk that I'm not naming or owning. Because it's gone now, right? It's gone. I trust that innate system, my body's ability to heal itself. To make a baby, you can't do it. It's one way to do it, right? It's mommy and daddy. It takes half of our DNA, 2 halves of DNA, to make one whole baby. The more you fiddle around with that in utero, the more likelihood of that baby not going into full term, you realize. But now they're messing around with things more and more and more and more. When you let the body do its job normally, it will do magical things. Children grow their immune system over time by, they put everything in their mouth to learn their environment. It's an important thing. It's gross. You don't want them to do it. You try and get as much out of their mouth, and oh no, not that. But it is an important thing for them to realize that the dusts and all that stuff around us, our immune system has to get used to it. If you don't ever get a cold or what have you, there's a natural process to that. The immune system gets stronger when the central nerve system experiences life, which means everything around it. So, interference to the nerve system results in damage within a short period, and therefore chiropractic care should begin at birth. My specialty, Devin's specialty, their specialty, Malka, Bianca. I love your hat, by the way, love. It's so cute. Is serving families. The children of this world need chiropractic care because they're getting assaulted, basically, with more chemistry every year. I'm 49 years old. There was like 5 or 6 vaccines they gave children back then. Now it's about 100 by the time they're 5 years old. Why? It has to do with sales again. The top, out of the Fortune 500 companies, the top 10 Fortune 500 companies are pharmaceutical companies, and they, come on in, and they have a greater wealth than all 490 of them behind them, combined. Come on in. We'll find some spots. You guys, how about, can we move down a little bit? Oh, excuse me. Can you fit in there?
We just crossed the road.
Okay, good. You found your right way then. How about that? So you're talking about trillions of dollars into advertising. They spend $20 billion a month advertising to doctors. They spend $5 billion a month advertising to people, right? And was that good for you? You really didn't spend that much in advertising. So making conscious decisions for our life and our health and all those things, that's what we're talking about in many ways. And also trusting the system to heal itself. If we see people, you know, on the extreme heart disease healing. I use my mother as an example because she's had some big stuff happen. She also had kidney disease, one functioning kidney. And in the world of urology, they say the kidney never regenerates itself. But she had one that was the size of a prune, she said. It said in the urologist thing. Her kidney now, both kidneys, are full size. This one's 8 centimeters from a tiny prune to 8 centimeters and functioning at 88 years old. What do people think mostly? Oh, I'm just getting old. I hear that all the time. I don't use the O word in here. We don't use the O word. We're just getting old. Oh, I gotta live this way. But in reality, you can live more vibrantly. If no one knew, I always say this, I mean, I really can't imagine what it's like not to get adjusted myself. There was a time when, right before I met Dr. Devin, I know a lot of chiropractors around here. I like certain things and done a certain way, okay? I felt like I was just falling apart. I couldn't get a great adjustment for myself. I'm gonna be honest. And I met Dr. Devin and he adjusted me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it feels like to never have been adjusted. My body was falling apart, and I'm sure I was hard to live with, because I told you I get cranky when I get subluxated where I need an adjustment. But my body was falling apart. My arm was numb, my toes were tingling, my back hurt, and I was walking like this. I got up and I was like, oh, I'm all right. I said this. I said it. I couldn't believe it. It came out of my mouth, and my wife's like, what are you talking about? You're not all right. Get adjusted. And Dr. Devin saved my life. So, and that was a couple of years ago. Now we have a relationship here. He is in here serving the people with me, which is great, which also means I get adjusted. Thank you very much. So, we've opened up times and hours for people to come in here. Now, I used to close for lunch so I can be with my family. Thank goodness. Between 9 and 12. I mean 12 and 3. So Devin fills in that time, and Tuesdays and Thursdays. So it has been a great help for a lot of people. Now I'm going to read this one. A study with 316 children showed significant improvement with colic in response to chiropractic adjustments. The three-month-long study showed a satisfactory chiropractic adjustment in 94% of the cases. The improvement occurred after an average of only 3 adjustments within 2 weeks. I see about maybe 2 dozen children with colic a month, okay? And parents are telling me, I just didn't know where to go. Someone told me about you. Or I was searching and I came across your website. Not everybody can do that or is able to. Or a mom with a toddler, let me tell you. Or 2 toddlers and a baby. You don't have time for a second to check on something on a website, right? It's word of mouth too. You can help change someone's life by just saying something to your grandchild or great-granddaughter that might need some help. Go see the chiropractor. When you come and visit, come see Haig. A couple of weeks, a few adjustments can change the life of that child for the rest of its life. Because you realize that's a lifetime of sickness. They have a child on Zantac. I don't like to advertise drugs, trust me. I don't even like saying them out loud. But a lifetime of digestive issues, which the pill actually affects the brain, remember. So you're inhibiting brain function for digestion. You're inhibiting them for the rest of their life. So something as small as colic, and that's not small because the parent's not sleeping, right, for 5 months maybe, and adjusting them could change their life forever. Forever. Because what did you also do? They've gotten them on drugs from the beginning of their life when they're supposed to be the most healthy. Womb to tomb is what they say. I want you on drugs your whole life. Womb to tomb. Really, womb to tomb, you should be adjusted. Naturally. I don't sell you anything in here. I don't have anything else to sell you except my 2 hands and Devin's as well. And if you can't afford it, you know what? I'll find a way. Because I don't turn people away just because of money. We want you to be well. I want everyone to be well. I want everybody to be healthy. Because you know one reason why? Is so when my kids go to school with kids that are hopefully not drugged up and shooting other kids in school, they can go to school safely. Think about that. You don't realize every single one of these kids, they said it. I was in Colorado, no, excuse me, not Colorado, I was in Dallas, Texas, teaching a seminar at Parker Chiropractic College when Columbine happened. And you know what? They only said it that one time that these kids were on antidepressants. They don't say that because you know who the advertisers are for the news? Are all the drug companies. So the news is a TV show. They're not going to get rid of their biggest patrons, the drug companies, by telling the truth. You realize that, okay? I watched Anchorman 2 last night, one of my favorite movies. If you haven't seen it, it's hilarious. But that's what it was all about, you realize. You know, the news being bought by the biggest provider, you know, whoever's going to pay for their commercials. So when we're changing lives, this is a new way of thinking, right? We got to think a little differently. You got to be a little open-minded. Some of you might be mad at me right now, and I don't mind. But at least we're thinking a little differently. You might be able to express this information to someone else. Because when we see a clear brainstem, this brainstem right here, people think more clearly. I notice it with myself, but I've had people tell me, you know what, my life has changed. I'm tired of this job that took me nowhere. You know what? I have the confidence to make a change. I had one woman not long ago, I forgot what she was doing, but she said, I want to be a pilot. I spent my whole life, I've always wanted to be a pilot, so she quit her job and went to FIT. Good for her. How amazing is that? I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do now, and I have the confidence to do it. And I didn't tell her anything differently. I told her about a subluxation, and I adjusted it. She brought all her sisters and friends and everyone else in because she had such a big change, and they did too. But she made a life change. Also felt healthier. So, I got a lot of reading stuff in here, forgive me. Chiropractic Research Journal. 200 children under chiropractic care, 200 children of conventional medical care. The chiropractic children were healthier. That was a research study done. That's amazing. I've seen it in my kids. You know, they get colds, they get diarrhea, they throw up, but you know what? That's natural. When the body is ill, what is the first line of defense? Get it out. If you actually have to digest it, what's it going to do? Get it out the other way. And a high fever, what is the fever for? What's that? Burn it off. It's like boiling your water. Or burl, as we say in Brooklyn. Boiling off those bugs. They don't want to reproduce. They don't like that hot environment, right? That's the last-ditch defense, is the fever. What does the TV tell you to do? You better take a pill, right? Better lower that fever. I mean, we just got a thermometer. My wife's like, I can't take it anymore. I gotta get a thermometer. Because I know when they've got a fever and they're a mess, I tell you, you know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, we might be up, no sleep. And they haven't slept, and it's amazing. The fever will break by the time the morning comes, and they're like, woohoo, let's go. And we're worn out, like, oh my God, don't you remember you were up all night last night? Which means you kept up all night. So, but they're healthier for it. The immune system, if you don't use it, what do? You lose it. Right? Their immune system is stronger. You got to go through a lot of heck sometimes. You know? It doesn't always feel good. You know what? Life isn't really about feeling good all of our life. If you've never stubbed your toe, you don't know what it feels like. But if you've never had a cold, you've never had the flu, with the flu, you realize your body knows how to handle that flu next time it comes into your environment. The flu virus mutates every 20 seconds or something like that. So you take a vaccine, you didn't get anything. You just got a higher probability of lung cancer. That's a research study they did. That's horrible. Never take that. You do what you want. I'm just going to give you the information. Google it. Okay? So this was an alarming study, and I did see this on television for a very short period of time. That this is the first time ever in human history the beginning of humanity that children are the sickest. Their probability of their lifespan is going to be shorter than their parents. How did that happen all of a sudden? What did I talk about at the beginning? This isn't a vaccine talk, it's about a health talk. But choosing healthy decisions for our lives. Get a child adjusted. Their immune system will get stronger. I was part of a research study in Atlanta where we had AIDS patients, people full-blown AIDS, and most of them, their last defense was really a high fever. That's when I really realized the fever stuff is true, because they're not making T cells that modify into antibodies that kill, invaders. What we saw, first we did a blood test, adjusted the atlas, waited 10 minutes, blood test again. Every time we saw T cells rise. It's not a cure for AIDS, don't get me wrong, but we saw an unhealthy immune system get stronger. What does that mean to a healthy immune system? It will get stronger. You might still have to go through your cold. Most colds, when they say flu season, our bodies have to go through seasonal changes where we exchange the mucous membrane in our system, and we got to get it out. Not fun, it's kind of gross, but you know what? My wife will tell you, I love getting a cold. It gives me an excuse to everybody to take care of me for once. Just kidding. But I know something's going on. I can chill out, I can watch some superhero movies, and do what I want to do for the day. It doesn't last very long. You take a cold medication, your cold's going to last 3 days. If you don't take it, it's going to last 3 days, right? It might last 4 when you try and inhibit some of the symptoms, though, okay? But this is an alarming thing, and it should be in, every new parent's packet that they get in the hospital. Make better decisions, because the decisions that the drug companies are making for you are making children sick. This is important. 1,000 newborns shortly after birth, he discovered more than 80% of the infants suffered from trauma of the upper neck. Yeah, and now, I just had a mom come in the other day. The baby's very colicky. They haven't slept, and his head's like this. What they did, doctors want to turn babies as they come out. Babies will naturally come out in a turn, right? Was turning the other way. So it just didn't feel right. Everything just felt awful. They're basically turning the head and the neck and turning the wrong way. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. And we see so much trauma with newborn babies. That's why it's one of my main focuses, is newborn babies. Because they're going to grow up to adults one day. And they're going to make decisions. And I don't want them subluxated and grumpy making bad decisions, right? For us. But in reality, you think about the strain on our economic system of sickness care. They said it doubles every 4 years or something like that, and we spend the most on sickness care, and we're actually the sickest people, but we spend the most amount of money. It just doesn't make. There's no logic involved in it. So if something's not working, doing the same process over and over again, you're seeing the same result. You got to change the process. It's the definition of insanity. Einstein, a pretty smart guy, said that. Change the process, right? Think anew. You got to change. You can't change it. What did he say? You can't change a problem by the same way of thinking. You got to think a little differently. So I have these classes. They're different nearly every time. I have a lot of different ones that we do. So I want you to bring people in. And thank you for all the guests that are here. That's awesome. I'm so happy to see you. And we're just getting back to doing these again. The last one we did at Crown Plaza had a huge crowd for that one, the heart workshop. This one was a little more esoteric. Where does health come from? Oh, I don't know. It comes from the sky. It comes from the pill. It comes from the shot. It comes from within. So how our body does its beautiful thing. I'd like to fill this room up in our new office. Hope you enjoy it. The Henniger Center, we used to do them at the Henniger Center over there. 70, 80, 150 people we've had. Let's fill the Henniger Center. When the Henniger Center gets full, we'll do them in the movie theaters. Let's make these big. Bring them. We're going to do one next month. I said I was going to do it every quarter, but you know what? If you guys motivate me And Devin and everyone else, you motivate yourselves to help other people, and just tell one other person, come with me. Betty, Doris, Sandra, Randolph, Rudolph, whoever. Come, and you can help save your life, your friend's life, someone you don't know.
Here's water right here.
I'm going to move on. We've talked about all those things. The adjustment, I like this one. The Heimlich is very similar to an adjustment for a child. I start off with the Atlas first here. And, you know, I've actually, my son, he picked up some apple pieces my daughter had dropped, and he was choking on an apple. I've had to do the Heimlich on my son. And we do baby, infant CPR classes in here. I have an outside person. She charges like 30 bucks a head. It's one of the most important things for a parent or grandparent to do, because if you're watching a baby, or babysitters and everything else, to you know, help this child in case something happens. Okay, so we're going to put one of those together very soon. Very important class. You know, it is a charge, because it's that woman. She charges her, or man sometimes does it. They charge themselves. So that's one thing that has to be done, but you pay them directly, nothing goes to me. But this is an important one, or it could save someone, you know, husband and wife. You don't know what to do. An ambulance could take 20 minutes to get there. So the CPR classes are important. Homeostasis, we talked about that. But the nerve system's functions are ultimately connected with our posture, homeostasis. If we have bad posture, I do this class with the kids, little kids. Try and take a breath like this. You can't breathe. Great posture is important. You know, the central nerve system goes through our vertebral column. I'm going to go show you some slides in a second about that. But if there's any point where there's something pressing on a nerve, and dissecting nerves, which I love dissection, is one of my favorite classes, and my neighbor at the old office, that's what he does. He does dissection classes for public and also at all the medical schools in the country. So he was an amazing guy. He was our neighbor over there. But and one day he's going to put in a wet lab. We can all go in there and look at stuff if you want to. It's gross, but it's fun. But how the nerves, it's just the central nerve system, the brain and spinal cord, it looks like it's strong stuff, but in reality, you just touch it and rub it, all will fall apart. Those neurons are very, very delicate. So if you think about pressure, just a vertebra out of place will inhibit that nerve function. CSF function, which is the fluid that bathes the brain and spinal cord, if that fluid is functioning aberrantly, then we're not removing nutrients, or bringing in or removing toxins and bringing in nutrients properly. So that affects us. So as we go through time, our posture very often dictates our health. You know, as we get older, we talked about babies too. My father is from England, and basically we couldn't eat dinner if we were slouching at the front, at the desk, or at the dinner table. We all had to sit up straight. And as he got older, he started to, you know, go over this way. And as, you know, I tell him, Dad, let's sit up straight. I noticed his health was directly related to his posture. As he started really going forward, his health started to decline. He passed away a few years ago at 86. Lived a healthy life, vibrant life. But I could see as he was starting to decline, I could see it was the posture was one of the main, you know, visuals you could see as his health started to decline. Now this is my friend Jim Sigafus. This is one of his favorite sayings, and I had to put this in there. Someone just emailed it to me yesterday. You're in here getting healthy while your family is sitting at home remaining sick. Get them here. This isn't just for one person, it's for everyone. You bring your family in. You know, we have family plans to make it affordable. But it's not just for me and you, it's for everyone we could possibly share this with. If you have a sick friend out of town, I try and find chiropractors. I can't always find the best for you. Most of the time people come here and stay. We have people fly from all over the world. Come here, and at some point we had a lot of people coming from like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. It was amazing. They found out by 2 urologists about my mother's kidneys. And all of a sudden these people were coming in and getting well. They'd stay here for a week and fly back. but from all over the world. We've had people in Germany, Iceland, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, all of Europe, South America like crazy. Puerto Rico, a lot of people come here, that's still the U.S. But, you know, it's a beautiful place here. Or come and stay with you for a week, and we can help transform their life, okay? Loss of cervical curve stretches the spine 5 to 7 centimeters. That's what we were talking about in the low back before. I've always been intrigued with these like neck rings, you know? I don't want one. Christopher Reeves, Superman. His spinal cord injury was at his atlas, the top of the neck, was sudden, right, from an accident. Most of these things are insidious over time. If you press, I don't know if you've ever heard the boiling frog analogy. If you throw, I think they did this experiment in high school, we never did it. I heard someone tell me the story once. Put a poor little frog, throw them in boiling water, it'll jump out. But if you slowly increase the heat, they just get used to it. And it's the same type of thing. These subluxations are insidious. My daughter, she was learning to walk, crawl, and she fell forward. Her head was so big, fell forward, and immediately she started pulling her ear, and it got red. Most people would think ear infection, ear infection, ear infection. Antibiotics, tubes in your ears, never gets better. 25 antibiotics in your lifetime, 50% higher chance of cancer. They're starting with babies. This. I'm a chiropractor. Thousands of babies I've adjusted. I adjusted her atlas and she just went right on her way. She was the daintiest little crawler. My son was like a clong. But that subluxation, I knew what to look for. Okay? Now, oh, I like that slide. There's an innate intelligence inside of us. We talked about this. This is a baby growing. The more you fiddle around with that, the sicker we can be. But in reality, you leave it alone, it grows a beautiful human being like all of us. Every animal has come to this world relatively the same way. It's magic. And that's inside of us, and it never, ever leaves us until we're under the soil. Living vibrantly until that end. This is the innate intelligence we have to work with. As a chiropractor, that's what I work with. Not with the outside stuff, the symptoms, I'm sorry. Symptoms are really just, something's going on, I don't know what, but I'm going to give you a pain here. We find the cause of it and adjust it. Symptoms go away the moment it's safe to. Safe to. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Stop doing that. There's a reason why. A few people are old enough to know who Red Skelton was. That was his joke. But it's true. But this is a magical system. We have to trust it. And there's a time and place for everything. You know, with my wife, she had an infection after her birth. And she was in the hospital at my son here. First son, second child. And it was about a month later or 3 weeks later. And the antibiotics did save her life in the right time. She got adjusted, trust me. There's a time and the place. There is a need for those things in the right time. Okay? I'm not saying that we should throw them all away. There is a need for them in the right time. Most of the time, it's unbalanced though. Actually, all the research shows that makes up 1% of the medical healthcare system is the emergency care like that. 1%. So this is how the nerves transmit. From the brain through the spinal nerves, this is a subluxation. Less flow of life to the body. All these nerves, the brain and spinal cord, are protected by big bones, the backbone and the head bone, right? Some are harder than others. I don't know if you've ever been hiking through the woods and you see a skeleton, an animal skeleton. The last things that are the hardest bones are the vertebra and the skull. You usually see them laying around, right? Because they take so much longer to disintegrate. But all these nerves go to some very important things. There is not one system in the body that is not controlled by the central nervous system. That means everything. Our emotions. We've had people all the time kick their antidepressants and whatever they are on. And it's not a cure for that, it's a cure for the subluxation, adjustment of the subluxation, and then the body heals itself. A couple of years ago, I always tell her story because it was on Independence Day, the 4th of July, she said, I'm done with all these antidepressants. She's been on multiple antidepressants, More than half of her lifetime. That's heavy stuff, man. You don't see the world as clearly. Your normal vision and perception of the world for more than half your life has been drugged. Every single moment of the day with multiple drugs to suppress your consciousness. And there might be people here that way. And I'm not picking on you, but it's time to make some changes. You have the confidence to make some changes, okay? These are just the nerve systems where they go. If you want a sheet like this, we're going to give it out as a handout in the next couple of days. I just have to find it and make copies of it. But I'll have some. And this move is not necessarily easy from the old office to the new one. I can't find a single thing. All the paperwork and all those things that we're looking for. But I'll find it. But I'll have this as a handout in the next couple of days. Which connection would you rather have? You have to ask yourself. You don't know that you're subluxated until you actually get adjusted. People don't realize that, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how good I could feel, or how, messed up I really was until I got unmessed up, right? And forgive me, it takes more than a day. I can't do it in one adjustment. I mean, things might change, but your body's got to do the healing. It's taken a lifetime to get in that situation. I get adjusted sometimes 5 times a week because I need it. I'm not saying that's right for everybody, but you realize we see thousands of people here a month, and it's not easy work. So we've got to keep our bodies in good shape. Devin and I and Alexandra. So we keep ourselves in good shape. Getting an adjustment is one of the most important things I've ever found for myself in life. It keeps me healthy, keeps my family healthy. But I decided to have this type of connection to my life system nice and clear, the best that I can. What we do is to limit our X-ray exposure is we have very advanced equipment, FDA approved equipment like the thermal scan we do. That is the gold standard in neurological examination, where we don't have to do as many X-rays. But we get a good idea of what's happening to the brain and spinal cord. We also do something called surface EMG electromyography that reads the nerve impulses themselves. And that saves us from doing those procedures, but sometimes we do need to get an X-ray, okay, to see what's happening structurally, especially if things have been going on a long time. There's a lot of arthritis or what have you, okay? We're open to you and your friends. You have a mom's group, a dad's group, a company function. We go to all the big companies here. They get their OSHA requirements when we come. So if you have a group or a church group, I love going to churches. So if you have some place, I'm open. Just connect with me, Alexandra. We'll book a time, and we can put something together. Okay, and we do a lot of different workshops. This one is very special to me because I've seen it makes a lot of sense. It's posture. How is our posture? How does it affect our health? Our heart health workshop we do a cancer prevention workshop. We do one balancing our hormones naturally and effectively. I do an osteoporosis workshop. People think, one other thing with my mother, she had fairly severe osteoporosis because she couldn't get up and move very much. If you're not using it, you're losing it. A bone pill will actually cause more heart disease, if anybody knows that. It's the side effects. It's in the paper. It doesn't make sense. But if you move your body, the bones will get stronger because they're a living tissue. They're alive. Your body will replace the old cells with new ones. So osteoporosis can go away. Your body's bone health will get better. Okay, that's an important thing to realize. So I'm open to you. We'll get the message out of when our next workshop is going to be, and that's the whole workshop for you. And I appreciate you very much. So I want to know if anybody has any questions or anything they'd like to ask.
I'm thinking of stopping taking carbidopa and levodopa. Since
I'm glad for you. Now, you do what's right for you. And make your own decisions. Inform yourself. Do the research. Do the things that you need to do so you feel empowered. the more you research or do, you'll probably know more about the drug than the doctor that prescribed it. Okay? And that's a very likely thing. I'm not picking on the doctors. They've got a lot of work to do. But realize, be the expert in everything. If you're going to put something into yourself, be the expert at it. People usually know more about their supplemental stuff, vitamins and herbs and things, than they do about the drugs that they're taking. You know? That's just taken on pure, you know, okay, I'll do it, doc. Instead of really doing the research, become the expert. And then have the confidence. You experiment. Do a little bit at a time. Okay? But that's it. I'm glad for you. See what happens.
All I have to do is be okay from the morning.
Well, that's the most important, okay. All right?
You know that. Whatever you want to do, you're going to do it.
Pretty good.
Well, give yourself a round of applause. You all made it through this workshop. I didn't see anybody sleeping. All right? Awesome. Well, you know, that's the way my whole house looks, with them banging and throwing things. But I want to open up for questions. If somebody has something they want to express. If not, there's a lot of good food from Lucky's. She made a nice salad back here. And, you know, we've got some good stuff. And good Brazilian coffee. I didn't make it as strong as is it really good?
It's good.
It's sort of like rocket fuel, you know? But,